Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Hope we meet you well. Okay, today our subject matter is going to be, we've looked at it once, but there's, from time to time we do look at a matter again with different experts. And so it's the Constitutional Review, which, daily viewers of the program will realize that we've actually treated. The former vice president, or a former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, proposes a single term for the president of Nigeria, a single 6-year term. And in the document that he had sent to the National Assembly, because we are in the season of reviewing the Constitution again, he makes that proposal, in order to improve the quality of contestants that go in there, and also to prevent violence, any untoward, anything untoward in selecting our president, and also increasing or improving on the educational qualifications of people who actually step forward for that exalted office. So from where we are now, 2 terms of 4 years each, making 8 is what we're operating. But it's not a very, very new suggestion. It has been in the works from before. He's now saying that maybe a single 6-year term might be the way to go. Okay, so we'll look at that. And of course, yet again, we'll take your views on it from home. In the studio, we have Mr. Jide Ologun, legal practitioner and political affairs analyst. Thank you very much,
You're welcome,
Jide, as always, for coming back on.
It's my pleasure.
So, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar says he's proposing an amendment of Section 135, subsection 2 of the Constitution to accommodate his idea. And the amendment, you will explain that to us. The amendment involves amending the Constitution subject to subsection 1. Which I think, explain that to us so that before we go into the nitty-gritty of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar's suggestion.
Thank you very much. You see, the subsection 1 talks about what qualifies a new president to come in, maybe on the completion of the term of the sitting president, or in the case of the demise of the president. And section 2 specifies the term, which for now in Nigeria is 4 years. And my position on that is to tell us something crucial about time. The value of time is not in the length of time, but the usage of time. So whether we talk about 6-year single term, or 4-year single term, of double terms,
yes, maximum,
it's about what you can deliver to the citizens. Anyone who desires to deliver good governance can do it in 2 years.
Oh, okay, because I was going to come to that. You often hear from these political actors that
exactly.
Oftentimes the things that we are doing, the projects, in order to see them through, do require more than the constitutional time frame. And you can never be sure, perhaps, of those who succeed you. So that was the whole idea of where, there was the famous or infamous attempt at a 3rd term grab. That has never actually been fully admitted, as you recall. So there are these things. So the idea, if they are saying that about 8 years, that is, if a particular occupant is lucky and gets the second 4-year term, so he'll be spending 8 years. Muhammadu Buhari spent 8 years, and everybody before him spent 8 years. I don't know what the judgment of history is about their performance, but here is a former Vice President Atiku Abubakar saying that 6 years isn't enough, which means that he's sort of on all fours with your assertion that if you're serious about it, you can do things in 2, maybe 3 years.
Absolutely. And by virtue of Section 4 of the Nigerian Constitution 1999 as amended, the National Assembly is to make law for the peace, orderliness, and good governance in Nigeria. So if the National Assembly is persuaded that time factor will compel leaders to deliver on their key performance as leaders in the country.
Yeah.
Why not? The Constitution can further be amended But I want to suggest that we first build the culture of accountability, that even the time you are given, what have you done with it? John Magufuli did not spend 16 years as the president of Tanzania. He was there for a short while, but he repositioned Tanzania towards national development. I did some research on Botswana. Botswana has, universal health scheme that is heavily funded by the government, the education system. Botswana is in Africa, and it's one of the frontline economies in the world, and consistently so. You mentioned
it's a relatively smaller company, and then theoretically easier to manage.
A senator, in his comments, compared Ghana to Lagos State. That Ghana is not as big as Lagos State. Again, that is another issue for us. God says in his word that if you are faithful with little, much will be released unto you to manage.
Okay.
So it's not about, sir, India has about 300 million cows.
Yeah.
More than the population of Nigeria. You see, so it's about the quality of what you want to develop to your people. Countries like Sweden, like Norway, like Switzerland, and countries that are doing well, it's a determination of delivering the dividends of good governance. So for me, you mentioned former President Muhammadu Buhari. He was at a time the military head of state.
That's right.
He came back for another additional 8 years. Chief Olusegun Obasanjo was a military head of state. He came back. You see, so these are issues. So Nigeria must first establish...
And they're coming back. I don't know, the jury is still out on their scorecard?
You see, it's subject to debate because we operate the denial mode in Nigeria. You see, where we have the hailers who will never be forthright in benchmarking performance in office. But if the leadership of Nigeria has been consistently developmental in their approach to leadership, by now Nigeria should be the third richest country in the world. I love to emphasize the fact that crude oil was discovered in commercial quantity in 1956, even ahead of our gaining political independence from Britain. And the first refinery was commissioned in 1965. So if leadership has done well in Nigeria, NNPC was established on the 1st of April 1977. And today, NNPC cannot even boast of maintaining a functional refinery out of the 4 national refineries. So for me, it's not a matter of length of time. We just celebrated the 64th independence anniversary of Nigeria. And sir, my comment was that if Nigeria were to be a civil servant, he would have retired 4 years ago. So retire into prosperity or into poverty with all the resources we have. So I quite appreciate where Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is coming from. But I'm yet to be convinced that the length of time will deliver good governance. It's all about determination. You have to be deliberate about it. When Lee Kuan Yew started leading Singapore in 1965, when Singapore left Malaysia as a little country with little resources, and you saw what he did, by virtue of determination.
Exactly.
Yes.
And ironclad discipline.
Exactly. He told them he was not democratic in nature, but he had a vision. And you see, we have this concept in management called management by objective, which means you set smart objectives, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound between now and now.
Yes.
Where are we going to be? There had been promises that the Port Harcourt refinery will come on stream after spending about $2 billion. Do we have it, functioning and things like that? And you've seen what Dangote has done. So I think speaking to leadership in this country, and by extension politicians, enough is enough of all this theoretical confusion you bring to the citizens.
Is there an aspect of, I've heard it said that, look, democracy will be different from place to place depending on, the environment it finds itself in. So what is democracy in other places? For example, just off the top of my head, Sweden, the UK, the US. You try and bring that same line by line, chapter by chapter thing here, then you will be reminded that, well, you see, our people are not exactly like that. There are aspects. We don't just arrive, for example, just again, still off the top of my head to illustrate my point. You don't just arrive and say, oh, now, hello, gentlemen, now let's get down to business. No, 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 no. You spend some time. It's an African thing. You have to ask, by the way, how is that sister of yours doing? Your wife, just to exaggerate with ridiculousness, to indicate that it is said, and I don't know what you think about that, that we have a different way. You acknowledge that, yeah, Lee Kuan Yew, democracy, forget it. We have an objective here, and he had the whole country behind him. Take Saudi Arabia, for example. We celebrate their development and that side of the world, but then it's not a democracy in that sense. Arguably, they're doing better than democracies, arguably. So we have all these challenges. When Atiku Abubakar came up with that whole idea, and then even spoke about wanting to enhance the educational qualification, and I suppose, look, let's face it, the world that we're in now, you must be an educated person. Those things are what Atiku Abubakar's ideas were said to want to introduce. I don't know the extent to which you agree with his reasoning.
Yeah, I've mentioned it. Single time, we even make you work better. If indeed you want to leave your legacy,
because you know
the golden side of history.
That is an agreement that you can't be more than 6 months.
I still make reference to Lagos State, and permit me to commend former Governor Raji Fashola.
Okay.
Particularly concerning Oshodi. Oshodi was a place where everybody thought, except God himself comes down physically, there couldn't be sanity. But Raji Fashola came and sanitized Oshodi. And permit me also to reference Governor Ambode. When I drive around Lagos and see the bus stops and what he did, driving to Ekoro in 4 years, I commend that man. And you can see the leadership vision of Governor Sanwo-Olu.
But Ambode ran into political headwinds.
You see, I'm coming to your point, sir. That I'm now making reference to the people. The priority of the people may inform the priorities of leadership. You see, when some of us started speaking against palliative, it's because we understood that palliative addresses symptoms and not the fundamental problems that we have. We just spoke about society. Sheikh Zayed, the founding father of the modern UAE, came from that society. The UAE, people talk about Dubai as if Dubai is a nation. Dubai is like a state, a desert. And the man came with a vision that we are taking our people to a higher level.
But there was no opposition.
Sir, I love opposition.
Yes.
Even when Jesus Christ came on earth, there were fierce opposition, even from his own people. The Nazarene said, can any good thing come out of this Jesus Christ? So when Nehemiah returned to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, Sanballat and Tobiah, they were not for it. But he raised his own army against them. So opposition is what will make you celebrate victory. So in fact, let me point to the opposition that Sheikh Zayed had in the UAE. When he moved to the agro economy, that, hey, we are going to develop the agro sector, the Western world told him it was not going to be possible. And he went to his people that this is our project. This is our land. Let's go ahead and experiment. And they've made a huge success of it. And I was going to New York from Abu Dhabi, and I enjoyed the fantastic documentary on this man when he was to be 100 years, posthumous documentary. He's a man, one of his quotations was that the oil money will not always be there, and that wealth is not money, but developing people. And that is why he focused on developing his people. And how do you develop your people? Provide education, basic amenities. Uncle Yori, Switzerland, as at September 2024, I think the interest rate in Switzerland is 1.25%. And CBN is talking about 27.25 in Nigeria. And businesses are growing. So that's the point I'm making. So let me demarcate the followership and leadership.
Okay.
Leadership is to show the way and inspire people to move in the direction of where they should be. Lee Kuan Yew did that. And followership, we key into it. When you sell to them the long-term projections and you reflect sincerity in the process of going through that journey.
Okay, that's the key word there. You reflect sincerity.
Reflect sincerity.
You reflect sincerity.
Exactly.
And here, you know, corruption is going to have to come in, whether we like it or not. In fact, we hate it. But nevertheless, it's a theoretical thing. You can hate it because everybody knows it's a negative and not to be countenanced at all. But that's just the theoretical, because once you get in, it is said, I've never been in those corridors before, it is said that it overwhelms you and that even a good man can be, quote-unquote, corrupted, whatever that means.
Yeah, Habakkuk 1:4 says, the righteous is hedged in by the wicked, and they prevent justice from proceeding. But if you want that justice, you can have it. Mm-hmm. You can have it.
Which means you're going to have to sacrifice.
Lee Kuan Yew stood his ground. Exactly. And I love what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared, I think last week, that he was not going to, allow corruption. But I hope that after much is said and done, more will be done than said. In fact, a suggestion came to me last night when I was monitoring trends in Nigeria, that can we move a man like Marwa, for instance, to go and head the anti-corruption team? If you see what NDLEA is doing in the drug sector. So it's all about determination. It's all about determination because it's all about consequences.
I wonder if Alhaji Atiku Abubakar also considered all these things and had determined before putting out his suggestion in a paper to the National Assembly that we do indeed have these things that you are saying. The determination is there. Because I imagine that, look, he and President Obasanjo worked very closely together. You know that the impression that President Obasanjo, who he was vice president to, wasn't always the best, even though they seemed to have a sort of a PR or, shall we say, public reconciliation with the former president, saying that, who is he? I am not God.
Exactly.
So I have forgiven. So I don't know. Well, he's a statesman. Atiku Abubakar is the statesman, because there are those who probably will be saying, so what is his place to be making these kind of suggestions? They will refer back to his time in office. And you used the word sincerity earlier. I don't know. I want to get your categorical impression now on what you think about a 6-year term rotating from the north to the south, as it was, phrased. What do you think about that?
Uncle Yori, I've expressed...
Sorry. Okay, just before you go. Yes. Mr. George in Ikeja, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you.
And good morning to...
Go ahead, please.
Uncle Yori, let me start my contribution by asking a question. If
for some reason, the volume suddenly went down. I don't know what happened. It went down from your good morning. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me, please?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, now I can hear you.
All right. So I was saying that if Atiku Abubakar truly believes in rotational presidency, why did he insist on contesting the last election even when he knew that Buhari was from the same region with him? The question of age that he talked about is what I would like to, contribute on. Leadership is not determined by age or qualification, intellectual qualification. Leadership is an innate ability of the soul of that person. It is given to some people. It's not given to everybody.
Okay.
So whether you have a PhD or you have a NEPA bill as certificate, that ability for leadership doesn't come from the certificate. It comes from that innate ability that was granted. And you can see the traits in the person before it comes to leadership, you will see the traits in him, in his relationship with people, in his community, in his family, in the organizations he belongs to. You will see those traits there. So it's not a paper qualification. If you make somebody, if you say, for example, if you are not a graduate, you cannot become a leader, or you can't become a governor or president. Supposing that person that has been given that innate ability does not have paper qualifications, you won't still get what you want.
Yeah.
So that's that. By the way, Uncle Yori, is it only Vice President Atike Abubakar that presented papers to the committee? Let's discuss everything that people have been contributing to have a more healthy discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. I think it's an important question that he asked. It might not be the most comfortable one. When you see the insistence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar to contest the last election along the lines that George has mentioned, probably for me to sort of, poke a stick in, there are people who will say, Oga, what are you talking? But to what extent do you believe what you're saying if you yourself conducted yourself in a certain way? So much so that it even created a crisis within his own party. But now, after all of that, and the crisis is still being mopped up by his party, he's now saying that, you know what, I think we should be rotating between the North and the South. When that was at the very center of the objection to his putting himself forward as a candidate at the time.
I will key that to your recent expression, distinguishing between a statesman and a politician.
Okay.
Indeed, a statesman thinks of the next generation, sustainability. The politician thinks of the next election. So I can see politicians in Nigeria, And like our last caller rightly mentioned, the issue of regionalism is also being proposed to the National Assembly. But I have x-rayed the National Assembly and I've asked some basic questions. We have 109 senators who allegedly earn 21 million naira per month, as also confirmed by Senator Kawu, also from Kano.
That is apart from Shehu in his time.
You see, so which region will they go to earn that amount of money? Okay, let's agree now that we want to revert to the 6 geopolitical zones. Where will these 109 senators kill themselves? In the region. And that is why we first need to establish, a spirit of patriotism, nationhood. I listened to the president, the governor, Fubara, when he was inaugurating the newly elected local government chairman, that it's about service. Yes, by the time we get back to the service lane, then it becomes easy to move forward. But as it is now, I'm just asking you, Uncle Yori, which region? We want to buy SUVs for, we accommodate 109, 6 regions. How will you distribute them? And 360 House of Rest members? Over 40 ministers, ministers of state. So right now we are just playing with theories. Our leadership in this country is not focusing on development. And these are my concerns.
Focusing more on politics.
Politics and personal. You can see what is going on in Rivers State. And some of us spoke ahead of it. In fact, I said in 2019, sir, that a time comes in this country when politicians will not vote in line with party loyalty. And it's already happening.
Yeah, that's a very interesting one. Especially as you
So you now expect these people to now come together and say, let's have regionalism. If they are interested in power, how do I locate my power in that regionalism?
I was a bit taken aback when Governor Fubara, in swearing in the local government chairman, had said that if the truth be told, and here I'm paraphrasing, but the one that I can quote him properly on, in relation to the victory of his the proxy party, say, ordinarily, who give monkey? Remember that particular quote? Who give monkey? And I said, what did he just say? So it goes back to exactly what you're saying. Elder David, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah, good morning, sir. Okay, what I was trying to contribute to the meeting is, I say it's about the education. I said the education is very, very important, because when you go to, when you are a graduate, at the experience of your education, you have so many experience, and with that experience that you have, you can contribute to the country.
Yes, we heard you. Please continue. Just go ahead.
So due to that, when you don't have enough education, there are many things you'll be lacking.
Yes.
And a country like Nigeria, we need people that are well educated, so that with what they learn and what they have experienced in their life, it makes the country to be better. And when they lead the country, they will find it very easy to lead the country.
I hear you. I hear you. Well,
so that's why that education is very, very important.
Indeed it is. Thank you very much for calling in, Elder David. And I think just about everybody will agree with you that it's an important consideration.
Absolutely.
And I think he was alluding to, for instance, the idea that George mooted when he called in that, there are innate qualities that a leader, requires. But yes, what if those innate qualities reside with a person who doesn't have paper qualification, for example?
The absence of paper qualification will further disqualify the person. In fact, in the Garden of Eden, the first thing God did was to educate the one to manage the garden. So you cannot rule out the place of education. And during COVID-19, it was education that helped Taiwan to handle COVID-19 proactively, because Taiwan can boast of an enlightened society that cooperated with the government and, of course, has entrenched the spirit of sincerity in the governance system, because it's all about system. I said I read the president talking that corruption will not be allowed. Right now, you saw what happened in Rivers State post local government elections. Are we saying we don't know the people behind the burning of local government secretariat at the time the House of Assembly in Rivers State was destroyed? Power brokers. And yet, some of them are still threatening to put fire in some states. And they are untouchable. And we are talking about rule of law.
Exactly.
So when our laws are paralyzed to the extent that they cannot be implemented against those who are obviously oppressing the nation, then where are we going?
Okay, let's take a break.
Questions.
Let's take a break at this place. Please stay with us. We'll be right back, continue the conversation, and of course, take your calls from home. Very important. Stay with us, please.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news, gathering the facts, witnessing the outcome.
I am here live at the aftermath of the approval of the new national minimum wage.
We are TV Station of the Year, not just for breaking news, but for being first, fair and accurate. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Okay, thank you very much for staying with us. And just in case you're joining us now, we're looking at constitutional review. Former Vice President Atike proposing a single 6-year term as an idea in the ongoing constitutional review. Mr. Yakub, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Shivjai.
Okay.
And good morning to you guys.
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
We can hear you.
Thank you very much. I think I totally disagree with former Vice President Abubakar that a president needs 6 years time.
A single 6-year term.
I totally disagree with that.
That he can do what he needs to do in 6 years.
6 years?
That's what he's saying. That's the implication.
President, as your guest rightly said earlier, a president does not need all the year of this world before the citizen can see where the country is moving to. Let me give you a typical example here. Does it mean that a president needs 6 years before he can be able to sack somebody that was shifting the refinery performance, that our refinery is going to come up this month? After that month, we'll tell you that in the next 3 months it's come up. After that month, we'll tell you another 6 months it's come up. To this month, all the 4 refineries that they were budgeted a huge amount of money for does not come up.
Okay, Mr. Yakub,
yes.
Along the line of your argument, therefore, is that the current system we have, where 4 years is the tenure, in 4 years we should be able to see the color of this president, and if it's not satisfactory, we can get rid of him in that 4 years. We don't need to wait for 6 years. Is that the implication of what you are saying?
I get what you are saying. The truth is this. The truth is... Hello, Chief Jolly.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, the truth is this. If we say that, okay, this is 4 years single time, and then if the president performs very well, he has opportunity to go for the other time.
That's
and
right.
then that one is prerogative for Nigerian citizens to let him be all, allow him to go and vote him out. It is not necessary that you must prolong it to 6 years before we can say, okay, until 6 years before the president can perform. Let me give you another typical example here. Chief Jolly, I'm very, very sure that you are an indigenous of Ogun State. Travel all the way from here to Ogun State. From Songo down to Abeokuta, the road is very bad. From Abule down to Songo to Toge, the road is very bad. And then let me shock you. The Lagos State are now starting the rehabilitation of that road, and then plan to put the contact and then put all the necessary things. Then, Chief Jolly, move from the Toge down to Abeokuta. Look at what they are doing there. They do another thing entirely, and then they will budget money for that as well. And then if you compare the two axes, you will know that the lack of the leadership is showing. That the other leadership is showing that he really know what he's doing, when the other one is doing the rubbish. Does it mean 6 years to know that you have to do the right thing? And then this money will write to the federal government that they will spend a lot of money on this road. They will call for that money, but then the federal government will pay them when they do the rubbish. Good man, and God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's an interesting point. So what? I don't know what Yakub is saying, because he said a lot of things in there. Is that look, if he does well, the president in this idea, Atike Abubakar's idea, if he does well, the way things are at the moment, then he can go forward, ask the mandate of the people to do another term. And if they don't think so, that 4 years is enough. Because what you have said and what others are saying is that you don't need all the time in this world to show your color. So if you know, the country is saved the embarrassment because in 4 years' time. But is that the way it works?
You know,
is that the actual way in which it works?
As we speak
every president arrives with the intention that I shall be here for 8 years, broken up into 2 terms.
You know, as we speak now, by virtue of Section 135 of the Constitution, it paints the picture the last caller just presented on the table. First term of 4 years. Mm-hmm. After that, you go back to the polls. Mm-hmm. And if the citizens are persuaded, you are returned. We've had governors who did not return. Donald Trump did not return to White House. He's now trying to return there. So that is the template we have now. And that's why I'm saying, have we established the culture of performance in office? It's important. Or are we just carried away by the luxuries of office? You see, the vice president, and respectfully I present this observation, was in the United Nations General Assembly to demand for a permanent seat in the Security Council.
Okay, right now you're talking about this administration.
Exactly. Now. We have the big 5 there. And to beg for debt forgiveness. Now, the same people who are coming to beg for debt forgiveness, if you see them in New York City, they won't appear like people coming from a poor nation. That is the sincerity I mentioned. The total indebtedness of Nigeria in March 2015 was around 12.12 trillion naira. Today, it's about 121 trillion naira. So who are those responsible for this indebtedness? These are the big questions we are asking. So if you are interested in development, go ahead. They say action speaks louder than voice, sir. Uncle Yori, you don't invite me to your party, your birthday party, and I'm sitting down there and you are announcing the menu you have and coming to my table, what do you want to eat? After 2 hours, if you don't bring food for me to eat, I will stand up. The money I'm supposed to give you for your birthday, seek for a nearby restaurant, eat very well, drink my soft drink, and go home. And maybe when you phone, I congratulate you again, and I move on in life. That is the point we are talking about. What? And I say the president needs to look at those who are around him. You may have the best of intentions, but your team can frustrate you. And that's why we need a strong system in this country.
In other words, are all your teammates on board with your idea, going back to Lee Kuan Yew, where he was sure?
He had zero tolerance for corruption. He acted it. And that's what we are saying. In this country, we've had ministers alleged to have embezzled billions of naira meant for humanitarian concerns and poverty alleviation. You see? And we just push these things over. I was asking myself, who are these oil thieves? Are they angels from somewhere? Are they not human beings? You know where the illegal refineries are? At the point, Honorable Atike came out to tell us that powerful people are behind illegal mining. Who are these powerful people?
Let's take Callisto calling in from Abuja. Good morning, Callisto. I fear we might have lost Callisto. Justin is trying to connect. So sorry about that. See if you can try to get in again. This goes back again to the intention and the sincerity. It's a simple word. You used it at the very top of the program. Where is the sincerity of purpose? People know things in this country, but there seems to be an attitude of go to the court and go and find proof. Go and find the proof. The lawyers, even the judicial system, the legal system we have in this country, everybody, I think, some will venture, cooperates towards an opaque kind of society based on rule of law, which has many demands. And I think evidence is key, in the midst of all of this. And people know that you're not going to get evidence. So there are some people working hell for leather. There's a very important one, there's a very popular one out there now. I think they're trying to determine whether a certain individual actually served a jail term or not. Exactly. And people are saying, go and bring the evidence. And
it's what I mentioned about system. When the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, was commenting on corruption recently, he also mentioned the judiciary. And I wish the judiciary the best. And he shaded the judiciary as one of the likely forces, not supporting the fight against corruption. And I hope judiciary is watching. And I understand politicians very well. If you are useful, they use you. You see, but you need to defend your profession. Well, that's what I'm saying. We should have a system. Look at the case of Ekweremadu. It's a case, an issue that started in Nigeria.
Yes.
Look at how UK handled it. In fact, I was embarrassed.
Yes.
A former president, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, writing a letter to the UK.
Yes.
To be sentimental. And UK said, and that maybe perhaps that is why we colonize you.
That one
that we are not going to be sentimental.
That if the matter had been Nigeria-based.
What about the former governor of Delta State, Ibori? Who was jailed for 13 years in the UK. Yes. That is the system we are talking about. So it's not just about talking about corruption and people are looting this country dry.
There's an understanding.
What happened, sir? And you see, and I'm addressing the National Assembly. Thank God we are talking about constitutional matter. The former president was constructing railway line to Maradi in the Niger Republic. So what happened after he left? What value has that rail line brought here? I read at the time that NNPC was planning to construct filling stations in Niger Republic to curb smuggling. And I said, what kind of a country is this? And these people are in office. Look at what has happened to NNPC.
Mr. Owe here in Akure, good morning to you, sir.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm talking, my contribution is regarding what the former president, Atike Abubakar, was said to.
Former vice president.
It might sound good, but you see, the reason why we have that 4 years in the Constitution and in other parts of the world where we have it is that within 4 years, you can do enough damage or you can do enough good that will give the citizens the impression that, okay, let this person continue. For 6 years, continuous damage will be too much. So, if the issue of 4 years is not as if 8 years that is in the Constitution is automatic. No, it means that after 4 years, then the citizen can vote for you again and say, okay, continue. Then you have 8 years. And if that 8 years is good enough, you can see what happened in Lagos State when President Buhari was up. People can now say, okay, that same party, let them continue. But let me quickly put it this way. Our problem in this country is not really about leadership, it's systemic. It's the system of government. We talk about regionalism. People are afraid of it. Okay, you have something that worked before independence when Chief Obafemi Awolowo was the premier of Western region. We knew what happened. So the regionalism for the people who are against it does not mean that all your state will be cancelled or whatever. What it means is that even the present states are there, can still be there. But it means that every region will be able to develop on its own. Everybody will not depend on oil. Going to Abuja, cap in hand, to go and beg for, so which makes states lazy. It makes politicians lazy.
Yeah.
It makes people not to look back at their back door. Ekiti State has enough, more than enough resources. There's no state in this country that hasn't got resources, but because we have this wrong federal system of government that does not even comparable with any other state, where do you want to compare it with? When everything was centralized based on the coup, after the coup, 1963, they introduced Decree 34, which brought all the powers from different parts of the country to the center. That is why we are where we are today. Let everything, even United States, still like that. Okay, the President Tinubu government now is trying to push for state police, which is the solution to our insecurity problem. Some people are still saying, the politician will use it again, would not rather be safe and let the politician use it to rig elections than farmers not being able to go to their farms to produce food so that the people can feed, so that our economy will be fixed. Because if we produce enough in this country and we export and we import less, then the value of Naira will improve. Then the prices of products, food, everything will come down. It's a simple economy. You cannot corner economic theory. You cannot double cross. There is a procedure of doing things, of running a country, of running a country, even before the colonial regime. Even when we are still using an ownership system, these are the way things are. It's production.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owoye. Really appreciate your call. Thank you very much, Mr. Owoye. Thank you very much for your call and give us quite a an overview of different aspects of the situation. Yes. Exactly. So I don't know. I haven't heard too many people align with Atike Abubakar on his proposal. It's there. We can't say we have heard all of the views, but it's a proposal out there. But people, I think just about everyone this morning has called in, and the bottom line is that you don't really need 6 years.
And Uncle Yori, shockingly too, when leadership is perceived not to be doing well, what do you hear? Wait for another 4 years.
Yes.
The legitimate instrument you have is to vote. So protest has been demobilized. Complaints have been thrown under the bus. You see, so how are we now going to move forward as a nation? I mean, it's something of concern to us. But I keep saying also that it won't be a bad idea if those in the National Assembly and the houses of assembly in the state sit down, look at our laws and make a decision that we want to develop.
Let me see if we can get Callistus this time. Good morning, Callistus from Abuja.
Good morning, Kuyori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, I want to disagree with some of the earlier callers that education is not important. Education is very, very important for whoever is going to lead us. Then secondly, the Vice President's proposal of 6 years single tenure, I think it is not really important whether a single tenure or double tenure for 4 years. You see, the problem we have is that we need to have a roadmap for all sectors of our economy. When we have a roadmap, any president that comes, any leader that comes, whether from local government to state to federal level, you follow the roadmap no matter the party. But of all this, the most important thing is that leadership recruitment process is very, very important. Somebody said leadership is not a problem. No, I don't agree at all. Leadership is the major problem. Leadership recruitment process is the major problem. If we don't recruit leaders in the proper way, we can never have good leaders. Look at the type of elections we are having. With such elections, even you have a single tenure of 6 years, you have a double tenure of 4 years, there's nothing will happen. No, you cannot have the leaders that we deserve. If we have the leaders that we deserve, if the people elect our leaders, when they don't do well, whether it's 4 years, whether it's 6 years, we'll put them out. Both from the local government level, the state level, and the federal level, anybody that doesn't do well, we'll put the person out.
Yes.
That is the only time we're going to get good leaders. That's the only time we're going to get a good Nigeria. That's the only time we're going to have a good economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Callistus, especially for, trying again after it dropped originally. The whole idea of between 4 years with the option of a further 4 years, and then right side by side with it, Atiku's idea that one single 6-year term. As has been pointed out, there's more to it than that. Although it's good in theory, but maybe if we were to ask ourselves the question, I don't know that it has happened in Nigeria where a person has served for. We're complaining about the quality of leadership. So, which president served a single 4-year term and was voted out at the end of that single 4-year term?
Except for it's controversial. Goodluck Jonathan served part of but his main second term he couldn't return.
Yes, he couldn't.
Yar'Adua also could not go the long
Exactly.
But the point we are making is
so these were not voted out. They were circumstances.
Uncle Yori, problem was coming to Egypt. And in Genesis chapter 41, Pharaoh heard about Joseph and invited him to the palace. And the guy gave a beautiful roadmap. And the king made him the prime minister. And he implemented it to the letter. He saved for the nation grains like sand and prevented the storm that was coming. So it's about action. Look at what Nelson Mandela did.
Yeah, but we're not a theocratic state. You're going back to the Holy Book for your example.
Which of our politicians, which of them doesn't serve a God, whether it's the living God or the traditional one?
Yeah.
In fact, they use all this religion and everything to mobilize votes. And that is why I appreciate those who are speaking about the system. Can you imagine that in China, a minister will just corner billions of naira meant for poverty alleviation?
No, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
Not in China.
Will it happen in Japan?
No.
Let's say this. In the 1950s and 60s, the Asian tigers, talk about Hong Kong, Malaysia, and those nations, they were in the same classroom with Nigeria, with brilliant opportunities to excel. Sir, Africa has about 40% of the total resources in the world. And Africa is just about 1.5 billion in population.
But what are we doing with it?
Exactly.
We're going to have to leave it here. Our time has run out. But, as usual, these are questions. Fortunately, the proposal of Elijah Atiku Abubakar is going to be considered by the committee. I think it is the Deputy Senate President who is the chairman of that particular committee. He's going to consider it. They shall no doubt be having these kind of conversations. Then we look at whether that idea needs to be rested or, indeed, let's look at it and then they will do the necessaries in showing it to the rest of us and let us put our mouth. because democracy at the end of the day must prevail. Thank you very much, Mr. G.D. Ologun, lawyer and political affairs analyst. Really appreciate you as always.
Thank you,
sir.
Very much. God bless Nigeria.
Indeed. And thank you also at home for calling in and letting us know what you think about the whole matter. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.
Since the last day of last season, we are ready to do it all again.
Phil Foden is having the season of his life. Brilliant! Just brilliant! That is quite something!
Stay connected for all the football you want, starting from 5,100 Naira per month.
The following is a paid presentation by ShopX TV.
Tired of pans that scratch and stick? Or cookware that takes up valuable space in your kitchen? Introducing ShopX Gotham Hammered Copper Collection, the perfect cookware to upgrade your cooking experience. The Gotham Hammered Copper Collection features a super durable ultra non-stick surface. Eggs stick to other pans, but with the Hammered Copper Collection, they slide right out. Incredible! It's oven safe, up to 500 degrees. Any recipe can be made in these pans, and then it wipes clean with ease. Make mouth-watering jollof rice or even fluffy pounder with ease, because nothing sticks.
I needed a cookware to keep up with me. The Gotham Hammered Collection has been a game changer. No more burnt meals or hours spent scrubbing pots.
Paid presentation brought to you by ShopX TV.
There is always more to a story than the scripted line. The part of a story that is not told casts a shadow. It's like the part of an object that is not reached by light. On TVC News, I'm able to explore the many angles there are to a story, talking to stakeholders, asking the difficult questions, and digging for facts. I believe the viewers are able to make a better decision if they're well informed and understand not just a part, but the complete story. TVC News, first with breaking news.
Doubt and fear doesn't occur at the canvas, it shows in the canvas. It shows the conation of raw earthen material slabbed, stroked and molded at a pace provided by the doubt and fear. Every move way in the struggle of one to the other, merging the past to the present, brushstrokes of colors seen but not known, for when the wailing
Hello and welcome to TVC Midday News. We're monitoring developments in Rivers State after Monday's attack on some local government secretariats following the outcome of Saturday's election. Governor Siminalayi Fubara has described the attack as a handwork of his political opponents. The governor visited Ikwerre Local Government Council Secretariat to assess the level of damage. According to him, suspected political thugs took advantage of the absence of security personnel after police gave the newly elected chairman access to their offices.
Who is the loser? The new council that is coming in, the fund that will be applied to other things will now be used to fix this place. Are we not really acting as if we're not responsible? It's an act of irresponsibility. Even if one advises you to go and destroy a government facility, you would think twice. Please, I want to say this to the entire River State. If you're called upon, play your politics with a sense of responsibility. We don't need to kill ourselves. My time will come and I will leave. Do I need to bomb the government house?
President Bola Tinubu has called on Governor Siminalayi Fubara, political leaders and their supporters in Rivers State to exercise restraint and uphold the rule of law. The president expressed deep concern over reports of arson and explosions in the state. He asked all political leaders to de-escalate the situation and discourage their supporters from engaging in violence. President Tinubu directed the police to restore and maintain peace, law and order immediately. He emphasized that government facilities built with public funds must be safeguarded from vandalism. According to President Tinubu, the judiciary can settle all political disputes and the outcome of the election should not be an exception. And staying with the political situation in Rivers State, the police say it strictly followed the court injunctions in the last local government election. First Public Relations Officer ACP Olumuyiwa Adejobi held an emergency press briefing in Lagos State to clear the air on allegations of partisanship in Rivers State. ACP Adejobi explained that the decision of the Inspector General of Police was based on advice from First Legal Team after carefully examining the court injunctions.
Stay away from any attempt to provide security during the said election. All these orders and counter orders were served on the police. The IGP, being a thoroughbred, committed to operating within the legal framework, forwarded the 3 court orders to the First Legal Section for advice. For the information of members of the public, the Nigeria Police Force Legal Section boasts of sound and experienced lawyers who have distinguished themselves in the legal profession, including a senior advocate of Nigeria. Based on the legal advice received from the First Legal Office, the Inspector General of Police ordered the Rivers State Police Command to abide by the ruling of the Federal High Court.
Let's turn our attention to Jigawa State, where Governor Umaru Namadi has sworn in the newly elected local government chairman. Governor Namadi warned the chairman to desist from corruption and meddling in land matters. Yusuf Issa reports.
During the swearing-in ceremony at Banquet Hall in Duse, Governor Umaru Namadi cautioned the chairman to avoid absenteeism and frequent traveling. He also urged them to refrain from dabbling into land matters and run an open government that will carry everyone along. Governor Namadi also advised them to prioritize grassroots development and people's well-being.
You should ensure that you have taken care of the people at the grassroots. And for you to do that effectively, you must remain in your respective local government. The issue of you are chairman of APC local government and you are residing in Kano or you are residing in Dutse is over. Let everybody strongly clear, very clearly, you must be at your duty post.
Muhammad Uba, chairman of Birnankud Local Government Council, on behalf of the newly sworn-in chairman, pledged to promote the well-being of the people.
Inshallah, we are going to do the right thing, we are going to provide for the masses, and we are going to deliver what is expected from us.
So we hope and pray that people will work hard as they were elected to see that they bring the dividend of democracy to our people in Jigawa State.
Governor Namadi appealed to the general public to support and cooperate with new local government councils to achieve their constitutional objectives.
Please read the law of local government administration. You should know your limits. I want to strongly warn you, the issue of land is a specific responsibility of the governor.
The swearing-in ceremony was conducted by the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Bello Abdulkader Panini. Recall that APC won all the 27 chairmanship and 282 out of 287 councillorship seats in the recent Jigawa local government elections. Yusuf Issa, TVC News, Jigawa.
Away from local government elections, the federal government has issued a fresh warning of impending flood in the country. In a statement by the Director General, Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, Umar Mohammed, the Jabba Dam is currently spilling excess water as regulated by